I'm Kahlert for Precision Aerobatics, and this is PA Builds. Precision aerobatics models are the highest quality, and they need only common hobby tools to assemble. It really shouldn't take you more than a few nights, or possibly even one long evening, to finish building one of your PA planes. That's particularly true if you use the IPA's power setup, as I'm going to do here. Most all the building's already expertly been done for you, and none of the techniques used here on any of the PA airplanes are difficult. I hope that this video series will broadly demonstrate the steps found in the manuals. And I'm going to take you through the complete assembly of all three of these models, the Bandit, the Ultimate AMR, and the Addiction XL. Though the PA models all build very similarly, there are variations to the steps of assembly, and that's true between the different styles of airplanes. So not every single step that I show you here may apply to your airplane. So this video series is not intended to replace your manual, but instead it's a supplement to it. We'll start by removing the contents of the box and removing the manual from the bottom of the packaging. Before we start any build, you have to consider the distance these airplanes have traveled and probably the variation in climate. So there is a possibility of some warp or twist that's occurred on some of these flight surfaces. And have a look at everything on a flat and level surface. You're just checking for any warp or twist that may have been introduced inadvertently during shipping. Checking your wings is also easy. Just go ahead and tape them in the neutral position and sight straight down them. There should be no deviation from the wing root to the outer edge of the wing. We'll start the build by making the openings in the fuselage. Now there's a few of them, and they're going to happen in one of two ways. We're either going to slice them open with a knife, or we're going to use the hot paperclip method. Before we can start cutting, we need to make sure that we iron down all the areas around the incisions. On the Addiction XL, there's a little excess flap of covering here in the landing gear area. This needs to be sliced and needs to be ironed down. There's a passage in here for the aileron servos. That will need to be opened up. The stabilizer slot needs to be opened. Make sure that if any of these edges have peeled up, that you iron them back down. Here I'm slicing the slot open for the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Verify your servo mounting locations in the manual. There's an air cooling exit at the rear of the fuselage. Verify the location in your manual and remember to leave approximately 3 millimeters of material overhanging. We will need to tuck this material into the opening and iron it down to prevent it from peeling back. You may wish to do this for your aileron servo openings also. To begin this, we're going to have to match up our ailerons of the wings and go ahead and pull out our hinges and our deflection gauge. These 4 locations are pre-slotted for you, and what the manual instructs you to do is to take the hinge and to test fit it into the slot. And it should go in with a friction fit, nice tight fit. Now this one's not in all the way. I'm just going to go ahead and try and we'll see if I have to make any adjustments to mine here. Yeah, so it's stopped. So I know that I'm going to need to make a little adjustment to this opening. So what I'll do is I'll take my X-Acto blade, I'll put it in the hole. You want to plunge straight down. Now you don't want to blow this material wide open. You want a nice tight fit. And we just want to work our way and reopen it, and I could feel it. It just opened up. Yep, and in she goes, and that's perfect. That's the right fit right there. I like to start with the hinges on the aileron side. The proper depth is right about there. It's easiest to glue the hinge halfway in on the surface side first. To illustrate, here I have the tail of a Bandit. These hinges were halfway installed with CA from the factory, and on the tips you can see they're still flexible. If you do it this way, use only a drop or two so the hinge doesn't wick the CA all the way up to the exposed half that isn't installed yet. Before we set the gap by deflecting the surfaces, we're going to make sure that the edge of the wing is lined up perfect. So you have the edge of the wing and also the stripe on the wing. Find the deflection gauge that came in the kit, and referring to your manual for the correct angle, set it as shown here. Now this procedure that we're using on the wing of my XL is the same for all surfaces that use CA hinges. Thin CA on wood won't give a lot of open time. We need to quickly apply a few drops of CA to one side, change the deflection, and apply a few more drops to the other side. The glue will be wicked up into the areas it needs to be, and it'll dry quickly. Now this is important. You'll need to work the hinge back and forth immediately afterwards to keep things as flexible as possible. Don't worry if the hinge is a little stiff at first. They do break in with use. And though I did try to be clean, I did get a little bit of CA onto the covering right here. Some acetone or nail polish remover and wipe that off with a paper towel. The fogging will be gone. Okay, so the wings are joined together. The next step is to find this bag and the spare bit of covering. This is a very important step. This covering material is used to seal the gap in between the aileron and the wing. So here's our piece of trim covering material. Just by looking at it, it's tough to tell which side is the side with the adhesive on it. You can fold it in half and run it between your two fingers. The side that feels slicker does not have the glue on it. Crease the slick side together into a V shape. Make sure you start with a lower heat setting first and work your way up. We want to start by tucking the V down right into the middle of the hinge. Try to set your alignment for the edge of the aileron. And with your iron, begin to tack it down on the wing side only. Now that I have it tacked down at each of the four hinges, I'm going to go ahead and iron out the wing. Next, iron out the edge of the wing. Then tack it and iron it at the other inner edge, this time on the aileron side. Then wrap it over. And finally go over everything again to smooth it all out. We have one complete wing with no issues with deflection.